This is the Genesis GV60, yet another curiously styled coupe SUV taking aim at cars like the Audi Q4 e-tron and of course the hugely popular Tesla Model Y. It's actually based on the same electric architecture as the fantastic Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6, the same platform, batteries and charging, even much of the same interior tech. So look, we won't beat around the bush, we're excited about this one. We were given a look around the new GV60 in a studio a few months ago, and I admitted at the time that I actually quite liked the proportions, but ultimately we wanted to get it outside here in spring sunshine before we cast any real judgment. But ultimately, it's up to you what you think of it. But personally, I think it's quite a cool looking car. You've got these split headlights, big wheels, you've got the sloping roofline and cool, subtle details like this Volt signature as well. But what I couldn't tell you in the studio is what Genesis's first pure electric model is like to drive. Now for context, all versions use a 77.4 kWh battery, the same units found in the Kia EV6, but each GV60 is offered with a different motor combination. Entry-level cars get a single 225 brake horsepower motor driving the rear wheels, mid-spec Sport adds one to the front axle for all-wheel drive, while Sport Plus turns up the wick for even more punch. So we've driven the two bookends of the GV60 range, the entry-level premium, the rear-wheel drive car, and this, the dual-motor Sport Plus. Now, being a brand with very little history or heritage, it's difficult to pinpoint which car is going to be the biggest seller, but if you ask me, I think you'd be mad to spend the best part of 20 grand on this loony all-wheel drive model. You see, as lovely as it is that the GV60 with the most powerful motor gets the best part of 500 horsepower and will do 0-62 in 4 seconds flat, in its entry-level guise it will do a claimed 321 miles on a charge, and that's what will matter to most. It's got some of the fastest top-up times of any car currently on sale, but what, as a whole, is it like to live with? As we said, we've driven both, and this Sport Plus car is rapid. There is no two ways about it. It pins you back in your seat just as you would expect a car with this much power and performance to do so, but it's different to the experience you might find in the fastest Teslas. It's the power delivery, it's more linear, it's more progressive, and that's a good thing. But if you do want your Genesis to feel like a Tesla, and who knows, some people might, then if you go for this top spec model, you also get a boost button on the steering wheel in addition to the standard drive mode. You press that and you get 10 seconds of full power, and this thing absolutely flies. This is not a light car. You can feel the inertia when you start to push on. There's a bit of roll through the corners, but on the flip side, it always feels like the car is communicating with you. Grip is really good, and you can even apply pretty decent amounts of throttle on the exit of corners, which kind of slingshots you out of the bends. The steering is perhaps this car's biggest weak point. It's a little bit light for our liking, and there's a bit of a dead spot around the straight ahead. But it doesn't overall detract from the driving experience. One particularly good point is the brakes, or more specifically, the regenerative brakes. There's 4 stages, you can adjust them using the paddles on the back of the steering wheel. And in the intelligent setup, you can pretty much drive on a single pedal. It measures the distance from the car in front and adjusts the strength accordingly. In town, certainly, you can drive pretty much only using the accelerator pedal. Refinement is fantastic as well. It's only really at really high speeds, we're talking German autobahn speeds, that you can start to get a bit of disturbance in the cabin. And if you go for one of the cars with the Bang & Olufsen stereo, naturally all of these launch cars do, then you get active noise cancelling tech which filters out even more of those unwanted sounds. One area where we will have to reserve judgment until we've driven the car in the UK is ride comfort. It's definitely better on the smaller wheels than it is on this car on the 21s, but these roads are so smooth, so it's very difficult to come to any kind of proper judgment about bumps, lumps and potholes. But if it was our tip and you're ordering one right now, we'd go for the smaller wheels. We mentioned those quick top-up times just now, and that's thanks to this car's 800-volt charging tech. Twice what you'll find on most mainstream cars like the Volkswagen ID4 and 5 and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That means the Genesis GV60 can recharge its battery from 10 to 80% in as little as 18 minutes, using a 350 kilowatt charger. The max charge rate is a little lower than this, but it's still faster than pretty much every other car currently on sale, and a match for its Kia and Hyundai siblings. I'm not personally a fan of some of the chintzy details and the blue leather, but I'm going to leave most of the styling aspect to you. What you want to know and what I can tell you is what it's like from a quality perspective, what the technology's like, and in a moment, whether it can function as a family car. First of those points is quality. What's it like from a build quality perspective? Well, the news is overwhelmingly pretty positive. The materials used, they're luxurious, everything feels solidly built, there's lovely contrasting stitching. As I said, I'm not a fan of the blue leather, you might be, that's not up to me. The second of those points was technology. Now, we're off to a good start using Hyundai's user interface. It's all massively responsive, it's all nice and easy to use, it's full of functionality. You've got Apple CarPlay, you've got Android Auto, you've got Bluetooth, sat-nav, everything you would need is within that screen, all pretty easy to access. You've got these digital dials behind the screens here. It's all, again, pretty easy to read, and I love the little touch in the middle there. You get a visual representation of the car you're driving. It's even the same colour. The final point of mention is this climate control panel down here, which is kind of mixture of half touch sensitive, half physical buttons, but thankfully it's just as responsive as this main screen here in the middle. So while it sounds complicated, it really isn't. Oh, and I've not forgotten about practicality. We'll talk about that in the back. Choosing your GV60 is simple. You pick a trim, Premium, Sport or Sport Plus, as mentioned before, and with that you get a standardised kit list and a set motor combination. Premium models come with LED lights, 19-inch wheels, twin 12.3-inch screens, an electric tailgate and a reversing camera. Prices start from a fiver over £47,000. The mid-spec Sport costs an extra £6,600 and brings that extra motor and more power. The only visual difference is the alloy wheel design. Sport Plus cars add a limited slip differential, even bigger 21-inch wheels and different interior trim. Prices start from £66,405. Back here, it's good to know that this car's electric-specific platform gives you loads of room in the back. The wheels are right out in the corners and the wheelbase is really long, so I've got loads and loads of knee room. This seat is set up for me as a 6-foot driver. Now, one thing to note is that this car has got the panoramic roof. The ones without do actually have a little bit more headroom. So me, again, 6 foot tall, I'm just brushing the ceiling in here, which it wasn't in the car without the pano roof. But otherwise, in terms of cool little details and storage solutions, you've got a net down here, you've got a couple of USB ports, there's a pocket behind here, cup holder in the door and another door bin, and of course, central armrest. Boot space isn't quite as generous. It's almost 100 litres down on the Ioniq 5 with the rear seats in place, though thankfully Genesis has seen it appropriate to offer storage in the nose for the charge cables. Beware though, it's smaller in all-wheel drive models thanks to that added motor. The Genesis GV60 feels like another win for Hyundai Kia's eGMP platform, with seemingly very little compromise to be made for this car's sleek profile, especially if you go for one without the panoramic roof. It drives well, it charges quickly, you can even have it in acid green if you should so wish. Thinking of still buying a Tesla? It may not be the default choice that it once was. Head to DrivingElectric.com for all the latest electric and hybrid car advice, news and reviews, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Finally, while you're here, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on notifications to ensure you never miss a video.